a very quick 160. What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. So I am coming to you guys from a very sunny Pretoria, where I am joined by the unmistakable 2019 Audi RS5 Coupe. And as the title of the video says, I'm going to be swapping the S3 out for a couple of hours. I'm going to be hopping into the Audi RS5 Coupe just to get a feel for the car and share some of the specs and features about this car, and hopefully maybe help you guys decide whether or not you actually want to buy this car. So let's go. Alright guys, so just before we get going and actually hit the road, I thought I'll start with the interior of the car first and just go through some of the key features and some of the specs of this particular car and just share that with you guys. I'm joined here today by Marco, who is a professional fitness athlete. Hi Marco.
Cool. How's it guys? How are you?
It's actually his car, so big thanks to Marco for actually availing the car and ultimately making this shoot possible. So just to touch on some of the key features inside of this car. Standard, the car comes out with the virtual cockpit. It's got the MMI navigation, which is also standard. Of course it comes out with the standard RS sport seats as well, which feels just as, if not more comfortable than the sport seats in my car. I'm quite a big fan of the RS sport seats. Noticeable little subtle hints inside the car also actually dictate that this is an RS model. I mean, you've got the RS badging on the steering wheel, you've got the RS badging on the center console, on the door sills as well. And that's kind of, you know, another one of those subtle things that actually sets this car apart from the rest of the A5 range as well. Some people might see it as good, some people might see it as bad, because the interior of the car looks very, very similar to that of an A5. This car does have the carbon fiber inlays though, so that also helps to set it apart. But that seems to be a sort of fairly standard, sort of fairly common kind of theme with Audi. Their RS models are typically, you know, there's just subtle hints that actually differentiates this car from the rest of the cars in a particular range, and that's nice. To me, that's nice. I don't prefer over the top. I don't know about you, Marco, but I like subtle hints. I like it need only be subtle. It shouldn't be over the top, and I think sitting inside this car, you know, they've managed to strike the right balance. First impressions of sitting inside the car, actually I get a very much sort of an executive type of feel. It seems that Audi have definitely put this car together and have pitched it more at the executive level, just in terms of the finishes. Obviously it's got that same sort of level of comfort and luxury that you would come to expect from the Audi models. That's a given. Build quality looks and feels superb. I mean, you just got this car, but I'm sure there's nothing that you can really complain about in terms of build quality and comfort and so on. It looks fantastic, it feels amazing inside the car as well. I think what we're going to do is actually just go and check out one or two of the practicality aspects in terms of legroom, with this particularly being a coupe, and then also just the boot space factor. How practical is that to actually use it with this being a coupe? Cool, let's go check that out. Okay guys, so given that this is a coupe, one might have sort of expected some practicality issues, but it seems like there's still a couple of inches in terms of legroom space here. Fairly decent headroom still, even taking into account the fact that the roof line is sloping towards the tailgate. And then of course I think there's an armrest here as well, which sort of adds an extra level of comfort. So all in all, it still feels spacious enough. I mean, even though it is a coupe, so that's definitely a plus side to the car. Perhaps the Sportback probably is a slightly more practical in terms of the space here, but I'm pretty certain that you can definitely make this work if you were carrying passengers around as well. Cool, let's quickly go check out the boot. Alright, so basically looking at the boot space, I think the boot space in this car, it's rather dark in this camera shot, but this boot is, in terms of space, it's very long, so you can actually fit lots of stuff lengthwise into the boot. I think the boot is actually rated at about 465 liters, which, I mean, you know, that's nothing to scoff about. That's quite a bit of boot space. Only issue I see is that you might have some limitation in terms of the actual height of items that you can actually practically fit into the boot. But other than that, I think there's plenty of boot space. And of course, the seats fold down as well. So with the seats folding down, you should definitely be able to fit quite a bit of luggage actually into the boot. So definitely seems practical to me. Alright, cool, so we're about to hit the road now. What we're going to actually do is just capture a quick start-up note. Obviously this car is fitted with the standard RS Sports exhaust, so I definitely want to capture that exhaust note. Marco, I'm going to set up here at the back, capture that exhaust note, and then we're going to be on our way. Cool. Alright guys, so we are in the car, and actually I wanted to use this opportunity now to just get a bit of a feel for what the car actually feels like driving on the road. At the moment we are in dynamic mode, actually in manual mode, in dynamic mode. So just talking about power, so this is a 2.9 litre V6 bi-turbo engine producing 450 horsepower and 600 Newton meters. Now that's very close in terms of power spec and matching the outgoing Audi RS5, except it's got about 170 Newton meters of torque, of more torque. I don't know about you, Marco, but I absolutely loved the previous Audi RS5. There was just something about its visual appearance, about its stance, that actually really enhanced its presence on the road. It just gave it some street cred, basically, if I can put it that way. Nevertheless, I think Audi is not too far off the mark in terms of what they were trying to do with that Audi RS5 in this car. This car still looks very aggressive. It sounds very aggressive as well. I'm not sure if you guys can actually hear that exhaust note. And overall, I think, you know, from a driving perspective, it feels great. It feels very responsive. As I was saying, it's a 2.9 litre V6 bi-turbo. Claimed 0 to 100 in 3.9 seconds. It seems to feel that fast. I mean, that's like supercar territory basically, or rather, you know, as you say, annoy supercar territory. You know, the engine itself is mated to an 8-speed Tiptronic, actually the conventional Tiptronic gearbox. Interestingly though, I'm actually wondering, I'm not actually quite sure why Audi didn't opt for the S-tronic gearbox, but I think, can we pop it into manual shift mode?
Well, you full manual, it won't shift down if you don't. And it won't shift up either.
I mean, even with the conventional Tiptronic gearbox, they've somehow managed to ensure that the gear shifts are still smooth, still crisp, and still very sort of engaging. And I mean, that's what you want at the end of the day. I think, you know, the one nice thing that I can appreciate about this car is, you know, in dynamic mode, it sounds nice and loud. It's got a very sort of a throaty type of exhaust note to it. But if you drive it sort of in comfort mode, I think maybe let's switch it over to comfort mode.
We'll start, just tap to start. Okay. There we go. That's very quiet.
It pretty much quiets down.
How's it?
Here's the big man. Okay, so sport mode, manual mode.
We just shift it back to dynamic, or do you want to keep it in comfort?
No, sorry, you're right.
There we go.
Just you can immediately feel it. Just popping it into the dynamic, like the exhaust just opens.
Yeah, there it's not backfiring now again.
You can hear those pops a bit. Wow, this car is crazy quick. Ridiculous. It sticks to the road, eh? So the one experience I actually just wanted to talk about was in the RS5. It was at the Kyalami Motorsport Festival last year. I managed to get into the RS5 and actually go around the track with a professional race car driver. And that guy smashed that car around the track. It was unreal. I mean, for such a big car, the car actually handles really, really well. You know, it didn't feel like there was a noticeable amount of understeer in the car. And I think that particular car was actually fitted with the optional sports differential, if I'm not mistaken. And what that does is it actually allows the car to manage how much torque it actually sends to the wheels. So that's supposed to pretty much eliminate any understeer in the car. But I mean, I can definitely say I've taken it now through one bend and man, the car sticks to the road just as if it's sitting on rails going around the bend. It's crazy. Just before we start wrapping up the video, I'm quickly going to take the car for a launch control now, and my trusty cameraman Marco is going to try and catch that on camera. Cool, let's go. Alright guys, that launch was absolutely ridiculous. We're going to catch another one from inside now, see if we can catch the reaction. Alright, let's go. Manual mode, traction off. No.
That was a very quick 160. Just maybe cut that out.
Alright guys, so we are basically about to sign off for the day. I actually had so much fun with this car now, but before we sign off, just a couple of things that I want to talk about, things that I actually like on the car. I like the fact that there are some subtle nuances inside the car that actually gives it that whole RS feel inside the car. The standard RS Sport seats, I quite like that as well. I like the fact that you are actually able to drive this car in dynamic mode and it sort of comes alive, and if you actually just feel like cruising in comfort, you can switch it to comfort and the exhaust really quiets down. So it's I think it will be actually make for an excellent daily driver. A couple of things I don't like about the car. It's so well refined that it doesn't give you a hell of a lot of feedback, let's say like a rear wheel drive car, for example like the M4, the M3 or the C63S, and those are this car's direct competitors. Obviously, you know, at the end of the day it comes down to a personal opinion and what you actually want out of the car at the end of the day. Straight line, this car pulls like a beast and it's a hell of a lot of fun. I'm sure you guys must have picked that up in my reaction as well. But some people might be looking for a bit more in terms of being able to throw the car around a bend, being able to actually feel the rear end come out a bit. Really all comes down to what you want at the end of the day. I'm going to sign off now. I think I've taken up quite a bit of Marco's time. Marco, thanks very much, dude, for all your time again. It's been awesome. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, please remember to go and hit that like button and remember to click that subscribe button as well. Till next time, guys. Cheers.